Jacket off. It's chilly off.
Oh, and we have the AC on in here, so it's a little chilly. Hi, Tara.
Hi, how are you?
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:01. Thank you for coming to the Town of Alton Master Plan Committee meeting on Wednesday, September 7th, 2020. I have an approval for the agenda. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda? So motion to approve the agenda?
I move.
Okay.
Second.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
All
All
right,
right. I'm a little slow today, guys. Sorry.
that's all right.
All right, so items to discuss, and I hope everybody had a nice Labor Day weekend, vacation, if anybody vacationed. We're gonna get right to it tonight. Feedback on the sample format. And we're gonna let Tara just lead us through.
I'm just glad to hear you're a little slow because I am too. Still in vacation re-entry mode today.
Yes,
Too many things to triage.
yes.
So I probably don't need to share the screen for that. It's just one page, but since I wouldn't have had time to reformat the whole thing anyway, I thought I'd run a sample format by you tonight. As a reminder, the planning board wanted to see the recommendations scattered throughout the text where the appropriate background information was. So
So did anybody have thoughts? We'll just entertain thoughts on incorporating the
This works,
action
this
items.
works for
I
me.
think it looks good.
Okay, I do as well.
I think the key really is,
Can you use your mic?
The key to me is that it will make the usage of the master plan much handier. And if anything, to encourage people to constantly use it. So that if you see these questions in each section, yeah, you might, I think we should have the whole list at the end. But as you're going through, you're going to see things, and that's going to be the role that the master plan subcommittee should follow through on and report back to the planning board with.
So I think, having these in each part was what the board wanted, and I think that's a good idea. And then they will be, I assume they're going to be rolled all up in one master list with what Tara has put in, who's responsible for leading it.
Yes.
And what's the importance of each of those. One of the things I wanted to bring up tonight was the first action item that we have on the master list is that there should be a standing master plan committee. The planning board should establish that.
Can I just interrupt you for a second? I'm sorry. So I know we want to ask the question, but so are we good with the format? Because I think that's just like a yes or no. And then we can move on to other questions. I just want to make sure that
The
we're
format
closed.
covers it well. It's explanatory. It
We
looks
like the
good.
way it looks. It's
Yes.
good. Everybody's on board with that?
It's also
Great.
easy for the selectmen to understand.
That's correct.
Yes, this came from.
know that helps
This
with the
came from a
select-
joint.
Absolutely, no, but the more everyone understands.
Yes, absolutely.
I also think that it's important to keep the notion of a highlight where this is shown in
Yep.
Yes.
in a dark color.
Okay.
It's actually
Making it stand out is important.
It is. It
Okay.
is.
Okay. So I just want to make sure. So, okay, thank you. So go ahead, Russ.
So, I think this is great. And then it goes and it rolls up into the master table in the back. But then the first thing on that table is to establish a standing committee, a master plan committee. And what I was looking for was maybe some suggestions from you, Tara, on how we might charge that committee with what they should do. In other words, I was just thinking myself, the committee would meet with the CIP and the planning board in the fall to take a look at the whole list, and do we have action items arising from each of the departments per se that have, and they've talked to the CIP committee so that there is some planning and finance put together, and those might become warrant articles for the meeting in March. And then you have another meeting after the town meeting and say, okay, what did we get? And what do we have to do next?
What do we accomplish?
Yeah, that was just my idea of how it might be implemented, but I was wondering if you had some experience with some other towns of how they did it.
No, it's unusual to have a master plan committee. It would more typically be that we'd want to see a joint meeting of planning, select board, conservation commission, in your case, maybe also the CIP committee and the ZAC once a year to sit down all with the list together and see which ones, we're the lead on this. Should we make it a priority this year? And also the what did we do last year? I'm a little, it's your plan and your town. I've been a little bit uneasy about the idea of it being a separate committee that takes on a life of its own, because the point really is that everybody's got stuff to do, and this points out who is the lead on each. So, I would hate to see the planning board, conservation commission, select board say, well, that's not our worry, it's the master plan committee's worry. I think that's the downside of that approach. So no, I don't have examples. It's not common. There are a couple other towns that do that.
Well, it's just something to drive the process, some group.
I think it's important though that it's so easy to forget that you're busy doing the everyday stuff for the planning board, and you forget about the proposals that were suggested of how to make things better. And that's what the master plan committee would be, not so much just a needle reminding people, but it has to be a little bit of a push.
One of the dangers, I think, that's occurred in the past is that the master plan is kind of put on a shelf.
Exactly.
And it has not seen the light of day again. I do believe that there should be a formal schedule for a formal review of the master plan, perhaps every third year or something to that nature. That it be not just an informal ad hoc process of reviewing, but a very formal, the committee would meet several times and go through it in some detail and make sure that it's still alive. I think something like that,
Like every other year.
every other year.
Well, I'm thinking
Just some
that,
kind of a formal schedule.
the actions happen at town meeting. You actually have to get approvals
course.
and money and stuff.
Of course.
For some, not all. I think there are a lot of different kinds of actions in there. Some are for how the planning board behaves, some are zoning changes, some are for different department heads.
Right.
Not all town meeting, but
But some of them are like that. So I was just trying to think of something that would be regular and dependable. If you start going out a couple of 3 years, it's just gonna get.
I do think the master plan is so large that it should be yearly.
Yeah,
Um,
and I
yeah,
anyway,
I always recommend an annual joint meeting of all the boards. And if you accomplish that by having a master plan subcommittee of the planning board, whose just job it is to stay on the radar. And I don't know if you do this or not, but some towns put all of the subcommittees of the planning board as standing agenda items for updates. So it's just,
That's what I was just gonna suggest, and I
But
think we should do that like probably shortly after town
We do that already.
meeting.
On the planning board
Right.
agenda, that's the first thing under old business.
Yep.
Yeah.
right, so adding a master plan committee update there is in itself gonna be a way to keep it on the radar.
Sure.
But again, I think there needs to be some formal mechanism to make sure that the document doesn't gather dust.
Well, that and there are other documents that start to gather dust. When I first joined the planning board in 2020 and 2000, and that year Judy Fry came in and was asking about the revitalization of downtown Alton plan.
Mhm.
What plan? I'd never heard of it. And so and I've been involved with the master plan prior to that. So that any kind of plan that there is needs to be listed and perhaps revisited. I mean, there was a lot more to it than what Judy finally accomplished by getting the park done. There were other thoughts that were done when so it's any plan that has ever been brought up should be revisited at some point to see whether it's something that the town really wants to continue on.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we recommend to the planning board when we're presenting this to them?
Yep.
That something like what I was just talking about be adopted so that.
I would agree with that.
So that you take the, now that we've got this plan, everybody agrees to it, that we're going to pay attention to it on a yearly basis.
Let's not forget it.
No, I'm saying we're actually going to say there's a time when it fits into
Yes.
the schedule of town planning and budgeting and everything else, that we actually look at this thing and look at the whole list,
Do a checklist.
do a checklist.
Do a checklist. I have to agree with you. A lot of things fall through the cracks through over the period of the year, especially I can attest to that as selectmen. There's a lot of things we'll discuss and things will fall to the wayside. There's other things take precedence and things slip.
Squeaky wheels.
Squeak, yeah, exactly. Things squeak by and then all of a sudden it's a year, it's 2 years down the road and we've completely missed it.
Yeah.
Or we didn't
Well,
follow
it's-
up on it.
it's not
So a
that-
Follow-up.
It is a lot there.
It's not that
so,
you're not
yeah.
doing anything.
Yeah,
Right, there's
It's
a
hard.
lot of things, so
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's important to at least adopt a plan to have an update, like you said, up the master plan. If you feel as though it's every year, it's good, then
Well,
let's do it.
It fits in with, if you do need money, you really want to make sure you ask for it. But like Tara says, there's other things like for the work plan, like Jessica's work plan for the planning board for the year. You know, are we going to attack this particular not a regulation, but you know,
action item or.
action
something,
item, whatever it is, you know, like we want to change some of the zoning. When are we going to get started on that? When are we going to start having those meetings on that? You got to keep doing it, otherwise.
Right.
we'll get done.
Well, the novelty of the zoning amendment committee at first is essential now when you stop and think about it,
It is.
because we're not bringing things that are half baked to the town meeting.
Alton's unique in that aspect because a lot of towns do not have a zoning amendment committee. And they don't do that. They don't bring this up every year and to try to straighten out.
That's a
their
good
amendments.
point.
Well, most towns, the planning board is the zoning amendment committee and does look at it every year. I mean, that's totally normal, is for the planning board in July or August.
Yeah. But we-
I encourage it to be July or August. I get calls in November
In
from people.
September, we'd get panicked.
So,
When we talk to the building inspector and we talk to him during our meetings and during zoning meetings, and that's one of the things he says that from his past experience working with other towns and working that the zoning amendment committee is one of the most important things that he's seen, and not necessarily being pushed onto the planning department all the time, but having that separate committee makes a big difference.
Well, I think the
What-
interaction.
Can I just I heard somebody talk about updating the master plan every year. That's not something I'd want to see you do. That's
I-
gonna waste your
Yeah.
time. What you want to update every year is the spreadsheet,
Right.
right? I'm gonna give you the action plan in Excel, and you can put in what you've done and you can identify priorities. You can change things there. Say, well, this is moot now, and just take it off the spreadsheet. That's the thing that you want to update every year, not waste time looking at data and did this camp or boat launch close or whatever. That 10 years is fine for that.
Yeah, I think that was maybe misspoken a little bit, but
But the spreadsheet, that's really going to be your working.
not really an
It's
update.
not really, that was my mistake. I said update.
I
But
think,
we really should get back to the agenda. or
So
we
I was
won't-
just gonna say, I think that's a really valid and important point, but we do have to we have a lot to discuss tonight in order to prepare to present to the planning board, so we really kind of need to move along.
Yep.
So, well,
You've
I
got
guess,
a lot to do, or you're not going to have a plan.
right, so I guess we can jump right to the review and discuss chapter 6.1 if you're ready, Tara.
Sure. I'll put it on the screen. It seemed to be way down there. So we just kind of go through section by section or page by page with
Hey, Tara.
transportation.
Could you blow it up just a little bit?
Yeah, I just got to the right place. I can't even see that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so it doesn't look like I had any questions in this first bit about public highways. Did anybody have any comments in there?
One quickie, which is, I think it's great because most citizens don't know this information about the different legislative classes. But there's also something they're totally unaware of. I served for a while on the Lakes Region Planning Commission's TAC. One of the things that they do is that they explained, and I had no awareness of it, that actually funds are raised for either repaving or for rebuilding. That they can't be intermingled. And I think this would be a wonderful opportunity to put that kind of information in. And that way citizens will understand why something gets done in a certain fashion and another one doesn't. Because that's taken out of federal funds and we don't have that option within the town.
I'm not totally with you. I mean, the town can do anything it wants with its funding and
With its money, yes,
the
but
district has repaving money every year and they have some money that they can do small redesign, reconstruction projects, but then bigger projects go get in the 10-year plan. There's not really restrictions on.
well, there are restrictions on certain funding. So that, in other words, funds that come from the federal government are dedicated to certain products. And one is you have a repaving and you have a rebuilding. And a lot of people will say, well, how come they're rebuilding this road and not doing this or that? And we don't have a choice in that.
I think there's a lot more detail behind that, and that wouldn't really be accurate to
All
put
right.
it like that.
This is fine.
Any
Does-
other questions or comments?
Nothing on page 1.
I talk about private roads in a couple of places as it kind of worked in context. This is just trying to describe the road network. So
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was good.
I didn't have anything on page 2 either.
Yep, looks all right.
and then the next thing would be the state access permits and the town driveway permits.
Yeah, page 3, do you say at the end of the first paragraph, also shared driveways would reduce. I think we do allow shared driveways. We do a lot of shared driveways, don't we?
Your
A certain amount of them.
town road policy does not allow them.
And we do them all the time.
Yeah, but it does, the policy I read doesn't allow them. Because it says each parcel has to have access on its own lot.
Actually, what we've tried to do in several cases has been on the boundary line to have the single entrance which splits to each lot. The idea being having fewer curb cuts.
Right.
But what Tara's saying is that we're not doing what the rules say.
That's what you said.
So we need to fix the rule.
We could say shared driveways reduce rather than would reduce.
Yeah,
Yep.
Mhm.
just make
Yeah.
a statement. Yeah.
Yes.
But we still want to say the regulations need to be updated. I
Yes.
think they're working against you, and I read them, and I think they're working against some of your land use goals.
Yes.
We'll just take the wood out.
Right.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments on page 3?
Not on page 3.
Was that?
That'd be good.
Second to last line.
Let me just save the file so I remember.
What is it, shared drive?
Oh.
There. Road condition, I just put some language with the map that you gave me, Jessica.
Okay. Oh, nice. This is awesome.
Yep.
And then same with town roads. I just thought, I didn't really have so can we get more granular data on the town road condition? Because I don't really feel like the overall number is as informative as it would be to know how many roads or how many miles have what ratings and what a typical remaining service life would be. I don't really have a context for the 9.1. Is that something that we can get?
Yeah, I
Yes.
can talk to Scott about that.
You know, I think maybe people can understand better. You know, we have 20 miles of F or whatever, and
I agree.
There's 2 to 3, sometimes 4 roads a year that are being repaved, redone. One of them that was just completed was Roberts Cove Road.
And Rand
Some of
Hill.
these, so there is a list of roads that have been taken care of and been getting worked on.
Yeah.
Scott will definitely have a list of what is still needed to be done.
right, I think that's the more important piece of the report from the RSMS.
All right, we'll grab that.
Is there a rule of thumb about how long a paving job should last before it needs to be redone? Is there any kind of a rule of thumb on that?
Say that again?
Is there a rule of thumb on
Pave
how
something.
long a paving or a rebuild job should last before it needs to be redone?
It
Yeah.
depends on
That's hard
the,
to say.
what's
That
on the
varies.
base.
That varies.
Yeah, well, is there, some kind of a guideline in general that indicates how long a road lasts before it needs to be, have a major repair?
I think that's something we'd have to look.
That's something we could ask
5 years,
Scott as
10
well.
years, 20 years?
I'm gonna say 10, 15 years.
I think
But-
that this road surface management system
Mhm.
is a way to evaluate your roads on a regular basis.
Mhm.
It is.
And,
Mhm.
and it takes account for that the road has a poor sub base, the structure is not good or something like that.
I
So-
thought it was, we were extremely lucky that we were able to do that assessment because that will give a very accurate,
Yes.
a
That's
more
something we
accurate
need to
assessment
explain.
of what we have to deal with
But
currently.
I had a question about that system. Does it account for buried utilities and stormwater and drainage, not just the road surface and the structure of the road, but all the stuff that's
I
buried?
think it does
underneath?
take into consideration all aspects
And because like
of water and storm drainage.
water, but water supply lines, electric lines, all the stuff that may be under the road.
I
I
believe,
thought it just looked at the road surface.
I think it goes a little more in depth.
Yeah, because I thought it was kind of like working with the
Working
water
with-
department, right?
working with
To
the water
to find
department.
out some information for that as well. It was
And
pretty
drainage.
comprehensive, yeah,
So
It's
they-
more
yeah.
into the drainage, working with the water department, so it is more.
yeah.
There is also the historical aspect. Irving Roberts was famous for talking about Route 28, the old Route 28, going into South Wilkboro and coming back toward town. It was legally, logs and stumps were filled.
Mhm.
And that's why it's needed so much rebuilding, year after year. It's like toothpaste. Each year they put a new layer down.
So,
But one of the things is, there's something that's affected by this. We have recommendations for stormwater management
Mhm.
into the Merrimack River. And so all of that needs to be part of that, because that's gonna be,
It does.
it's gonna be the cost of putting in new storm drains and deep sump
Exactly.
catch basins and
If the
everything.
road's in good shape and there's something wrong with the storm drainage, that's why it all has to be looked at the same time.
So my
Don't wanna
question
be tearing
was,
up good roads.
does this system actually encompass all the other features?
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
So Jessica, you're gonna ask Scott about whether we can get that a little more granular, like how many miles a road have which ratings? I think that'd be helpful for, like, instead of just the PCI 69 or C, how many miles of roads have which rating? A, B, C, D, whatever, and what, like, the RSL and 9.1 doesn't really tell me. I don't have a context for that, like what's typical. And then the third question now is, does it account for drainage and other utilities? Then I add this question in there. I just parked this here that needs to go on the action plan, but I don't really understand the fourth one here. Checks and balances.
All the checks, yeah, I didn't either.
Is that really saying like to go drive the roads again every 3 years to update the data?
I don't know what that's about.
I don't know. I think that came from Scott.
Road surface evaluation.
So just ask him if we could say it.
I
another
think that's
way.
what he plans on trying to do every 3 years.
Yeah, but the checks and balances is what I didn't understand. Does he really, ask him if he really means update it,
Just clarify.
right?
Okay. Anything else on page 5?
I already left it.
All right, so moving on to 6.
We could talk about roads forever. So I'm kind of going by what I've heard and seen, and I want to know if this is an accurate characterization of private road conditions.
No?
Private roads, highways.
Yeah, the way you describe private roads.
Conditions of the condition of private roads. Is this accurate?
Sawmill and places like that. That's what.
I would say yes, but I know that the town has, like, obviously, if a road was done years ago, I know the town has tried to get people to upgrade for emergency responders. So I know there has been that effort there. You could probably say some, I mean, I don't know.
I'd say majority of it
Yeah,
There are,
is accurate.
Yeah, I would say so too.
I'd say most of it.
Most of what? I'm sorry.
Your description of private roads,
The description of private roads, most of it is accurate.
Okay. Well, what's not?
what's not,
We need to fix it.
what is not accurate? What do you want to
Most is
take
not
out?
all.
I think this came, it was partly in your previous plan.
Okay, so for example, the sentence that starts with upgrades to current standards.
Mhm.
So that already is a requirement.
right? Somebody's gonna,
So if you were to
Yes.
subdivide, it has to be off of a
Yes,
class
which is what I
5
was starting to say, yes.
yeah, there are roads that don't meet the.
or built to class, well,
Class
On
5
standards.
standards.
which is,
Okay, except your subdivision regulations don't even require a right of way for an internal road. So how is that?
Sorry, they don't require a what? I'm sorry.
Right
Sarah?
away.
Oh, a
They
right of
don't
way.
even require a right of way. So how is that upgrading on the current standards?
So is that not in our,
Your subdivision, it was either your road policy or subdivision regulations.
Subdivision that the road becomes town property upon acceptance.
Yes, of course it does. But you have something in your regulations that says if I claim I'm gonna keep it private, I don't even need to identify a right of way.
right?
yeah, it's terrible. And I actually think that so a
So this
couple,
isn't, so this was, why isn't this right how I had it then? Should be required.
Right. Well, not really, because what we do is we say that all private roads have to meet town standards for a road, okay? And if they want to, if they say it's gonna be private in the future, because you can never keep them private forever, they would have to deed that road, the entire width of that road and its drainage over to the town.
Mhm.
They want to say they keep it private, they keep it on a right of way, they still have to build it to town standards.
Yes.
But if the town in the future is asked to accept it, the town won't accept it unless they also get the land that's underneath it.
And then you're creating substandard lots.
Not necessarily, because if it met town standards, then it would be a certain width and then the driveways go off of that.
But if you're not requiring it to identify a right of way, your regulations allow the right of way to be part of the minimum lot size. So
so that should be an action item.
Yeah,
then.
that shouldn't be correct. Yeah, that's,
Jessica, what am I missing in there? Isn't it then creating substandard lots if it becomes a town road?
not necessarily.
Well,
No.
an example is Finity Lane. which is in East Alton off of Gilman's Corner Road.
Yep.
Somebody wanted to put in a house off of it. And we said, no, you can't because they don't have a 50-foot right of way. When it was built not that some lots encroach on what would be a 50.
Yeah.
They'd have to go back and claim land from some of the houses. So that sort of thing happened in the early days prior to,
So what they would have to do and going forward is we would have to make sure that the lot sizes would stand up to having
Yeah.
the property being granted to the town.
right, absolutely.
All right, good, fair enough.
I'm still confused, but I'll do something and run up by Jessica.
Okay,
Anything else on page 6?
yeah,
I'm
just,
just trying to make sure I make my notes up to date
I'm
here.
sorry, Tara.
I'm just trying to finish my notes here. I've got a paper copy so that I can know what I need to do, because we don't have a lot of time to muck about with getting to the next draft, too. So you're saying you do require them to meet the standards, but the right of way is part of the lots, and if they deed the right of way, if it's accepted by the town, but then they might be substandard lots.
Yeah.
could be, yeah.
It's a possibility.
Yeah, that's what I thought I was seeing. So I'll reword this and run it by Jessica. All right. Traffic,
Just the acronyms, NHDOT, LRPC, the way they're introduced. I assume we're gonna say what it is first and then put in parentheses the acronym afterwards and then use
Yeah,
it.
we're so familiar with some of them.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, just as a,
all
just,
right. How often do you want me to do that? Because I did it earlier.
just as long as it's in, if it's introduced in each chapter.
Yeah, and I did that a couple pages ago. Do you want me to do it in each section and each heading?
No, I just didn't, I didn't notice that you had.
Well, I mean, should there be a summary in the back someplace?
No, I hate that. But I think it's not a problem if you want it under each heading, the first, because somebody might just glance at that section.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt to do it more,
Yeah.
if you're willing to.
No, I think you gotta take in mind that somebody might just flip to one section and if it's, you want it
Yeah.
clear. So I'll do it the first time I mentioned under each heading.
Okay. I like that.
Is it,
If they need a glossary, we didn't do our job.
I grew up in a world of acronyms and I hate them. If there were I don't know if it's too late to even bring up the subject, but a glossary of terms where all acronyms were listed in their actual meaning.
Yeah.
I would rather see you'd have it in each section.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if somebody's got to flip around to a glossary, I don't think we did a good job.
I think the way she's doing it,
Okay.
just particularly the way this is going to be used. People aren't going to read the thing from start to finish.
Of course not.
Right. And if they have to flip around, they're gonna not get very far before they get frustrated.
Right.
You're gonna look at specific things that obtain to them.
They're gonna see if their road is right. Okay, so traffic volumes, I harvested the data from DOT. And there's so much of it that I tried to organize it in some logical way. So it's a little bit arbitrary, right? I made up these categories of kind of to see if we saw different patterns of growth around like gateways versus in and around the village, secondary state highways, local roads. And the only thing that really jumped out was, over the Mermaid River on the bridge that's gonna be fixed soon.
Right. Yeah, that's something.
That has increased significantly.
So does this work? Is this as good a way to organize it as any?
I think so.
Is that the Merry meeting at
yeah.
Alton Bay or? Oh, I did.
Yes.
I had
It's the bottom row on page 6-7.
Right, but I was thinking of by the traffic circle.
yeah, that one is all right.
No, but I was thinking of the traffic.
The traffic has increased.
Yeah.
Over that part, but this, what she's talking about is the bridge
No, I
Should
think,
I,
Written in the bay.
I
these are DOT's names for them, but should I say that? Should I add that to that row in the table?
Well, there are roads that cross the Merry Meeting River, several. So I would delineate.
Okay, I'll add it at Alton Bay.
yeah.
Thank you, Tara.
All right.
So I had a similar one, the last local road, Alton Mountain Road at Watson Brook. I'm not familiar that Mountain Road crosses Watson Brook.
I'm not sure.
That's next
So
to
we're
Jesus
on
Valley
page
Road.
6-8.
Oh.
Russ is looking at page 6-8.
That Watson Brook comes out behind Ruben's house
It does? Oh, I didn't know that.
at Loon Cove.
Okay.
So
That is
that's not right.
incorrect. It's not right.
That's
So
not,
Russ, I'll screenshot the location of that and you and I will correct that.
okay, I'll fix it. Good.
Thank you.
That doesn't work. Okay.
Anything on 6-9, so is this, we're looking for more information from the police department, Tara?
Yeah, we don't have any traffic safety data and we used to be able to get it from DOT or safety, but then it started getting difficult. And I think that may have had something to do with liability and funding. And I think now your police department's probably the best source. If somebody could just chat with them about, are there intersections or other spots where they see a lot of accidents that they think would benefit from a closer look?
Okay.
Is there somebody who could, we don't have a lot of time. I really need to be doing this like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week for your 20.
You just want to talk to the chief about asking him if there's an increase in certain areas in town of accidents? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, just a few sentences of whether they have a few locations they have that they'd call high accident locations.
Okay.
Well, one of,
Because then, if it's listed in here and you rejoin LRPC, you may be able to get a team to come out. You might be able to get them, they get money that they can use to organize folks from DOT to come out and spend a part of a day having a look at it and brainstorming, because sometimes there's easy fixes to some of these that will, tweaking where a sign is or something can often improve the safety. So, and DOT has pots of money that are for small things like that. So if you get it listed in here, that's the first step.
well, one of the things that in the selectmen's meeting the other night was brought up was where Old Wolfboro Road crosses Route 28.
Yes.
And they said they would look into that.
Right. And that was one of the things I was just going to mention.
Yeah.
That was
Me too.
looking into that one intersection. Yes. But we can talk, I don't mind talking to the chief on it.
Okay.
Okay, good.
And finding out more information on that particular intersection and any others that
And
are
I bet
of
busy,
concern.
and I bet busy corner, like there are certain,
Right, and that's
I-
why some of the crosswalks are being changed,
Mhm.
adding another crosswalk. We're putting the crosswalk signals. There's more concern on Stockbridge Corner Road and 28. That's a concern.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
so let's get that
So-
information from the chief and see what they have to
I think
say.
you could talk to the former chief too.
Yes, yes. But I would definitely, the new chief, he's been on for a long time, so
Yeah,
he's well
he
aware.
knows, yeah.
But I'll take care of that.
Great. So just for anybody that's offering to do things, I really need to be getting you guys the next draft. Next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is when I can work on your next draft for the 21st. So
So you'd like everything by,
Sunday,
Yesterday.
okay, by Sunday.
By
I have another project I have to do this
No.
weekend, so
That's right.
Yep, okay.
definitely not, first thing Monday morning.
Yep.
So I have another project to do this weekend, so.
We can
So
we can
obviously as
email
soon
you
as
on Sundays,
possible
right?
is appreciated.
Yeah, we had said Friday. All I can add to it for you is the weekend.
Under bridges, which is right underneath that last sentence, that bridge has just been replaced last year, I think.
Which
at
one?
Loon Cove Road.
Yes, that was done last year.
So you can take that sentence out.
I'm not sure where it goes, but
One second. So the town-owned bridge that was red listed has been replaced.
It's been
It's
replaced.
been replaced.
Okay, I'm making note on my paper one here to keep us moving.
A particular concern that I have because of where I live, there are about 10 to 15 town dump trucks that go up my road every day to bring either fill or stumps and stuff up to the dumping place at the end of Rhines Road.
Mhm.
And the weight of those trucks is very significant. And already I can see a degradation in the road from going over drainage. Parts. I don't know if there's a specific class of road in the town that carries that kind of traffic. You know, the very heavy town trucks in very large volume.
Well,
I don't know if there's a consideration for that or,
There's always consideration for it, but they're usually allowed to
oh, they're
go on
allowed.
any road that they deem necessary.
Oh, I know,
use.
but it's putting
They're maintaining the
particular,
roads.
puts particular stress on certain roads.
well,
Sure
that
does.
surface management system, the RSMS should
It should be
should
able to
identify
capture
those
that.
and fix
And I
them.
would think when it came time to redo roads, they would take that into consideration as well.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. No, and I'm sure they're
So
well aware that
I'm just gonna
heavily
try to
trafficked-
keep moving us along, gentlemen. I don't
Yeah,
want to
I-
be rude. If
apologize.
you have additional, please just
You
throw
will
it out
never
there, but
be rude.
I just want to keep us moving along. I'm sorry.
So I have one on 6.9, the New Hampshire Route 11 planning study. This is 10-foot wide shoulders and a 60-mile-per-hour design speed. It's not, it's going to be 35.
Yeah, that's a good find, yes.
Where are you looking, Russ?
A bottom section on page 6.9, New Hampshire Route 11 planning study.
Yep.
The
Third sentence.
third line down says 60 miles an hour.
And that's what it was. We're talking about the sections that were on either side of the study area.
They're 55 on either side. They're posted as 55 on either
It's,
side.
it's a, so that's from the report. And it's a 60-mile-an-hour design speed.
Oh, you're right. It's a design speed. That's not what it's
It's not
posted.
it's not what's
Okay.
Oh, it's a
posted.
design,
Okay.
that's a difference, okay.
Yeah.
And I think part of the committee's point that I'm hearing from the minutes and what I read is that you guys want to make sure that they don't do that with the remaining segment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But somehow maybe I didn't make that point well if you misread it like that.
I think the high, really high.
I think
speed
it's
roads
the
is more-
design speed. Most people don't understand that. When they see 60 miles per hour, they just deflect to that's
Well,
the
if you
posted
design it for
speed
60,
limit.
people can drive set 55 easy.
Right, but most lay people are not gonna read that as a design plan.
No.
Like they see 60 miles per hour and they think
That's-
that it's a stated speed limit.
That's what they can travel
Right,
at.
which is what Russ thought it was, because that would be, that's like a quick, that's just an automatic, I think, in your brain.
What, would it hurt, Tara, to just put in there in parentheses, posted speed is 55?
Sure.
I'll do something different. I was making notes that it's to reword it, to make clear it's not the speed limit and that you thought it was what the new section was gonna be.
So
So,
I think I misread it. I think that's okay.
right,
You
Russ,
said
but
on either side of this segment was wide.
But Russ, you know more about this than anyone, so if you misread it, I want to relook at the wording and make sure
I appreciate
I
that.
can
Tara.
clarify that.
Fair enough.
Thank
But
you.
nobody drives 40 there.
No,
Yeah, all right, so we're, okay, so I
Our-
made that note. And then these bullet points are just summarized a little bit from the draft report.
so we're on to 6:10.
And then the comment at the bottom is mine, that I think it's important that the town stay involved through the design phase because they're apt to drop the paved shoulders and cut corners on stormwater
Yeah.
for funding.
So this has nothing to do with the master plan, but the traffic circle. The other day I had come out of 28 North and I was heading around, towards McDonald's, and the car in front of me was approaching the oncoming on-ramp from 11 and they stopped
Oh, geez.
right in the middle of the circle. I was like, really?
Well, the old law,
Really?
That's the way it
Does
was.
happen.
the old
I
law,
know.
It does happen once in a while, but
But you
you
did that.
generally don't stop in the circle.
But I mean, that was why it was such a poor
Technically, it was not
design.
a circle
Yes.
before.
Huh?
Technically, it was not a circle before.
So
Sure.
this,
Straight through.
so this italic language, I just, I've been going back and forth between your old plan to make sure that we're addressing any issues. This was one kind of hanging out there that is, should I just delete this? Is this all set, or are there still issues with
I
the
think
traffic
it-
circle?
I think it's just the way it is. I don't think it necessarily needs to be
I would get rid of it.
in the master
Okay.
plan.
All right, I just,
Yes, it's true. It confuses people, but it is what it is.
all right, I just wanted.
But it was corrected. It was corrected.
Missed out on that.
The
So she-
italic section on the bottom of
All
page
the italic
610.
stuff.
Oh, we're already on 610. I thought we were
Yes,
still on
yes,
6:09.
no, sorry. Yep.
All the italics we should just leave out.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
I
No,
agree.
I just, as I said, I know a lot of work went in the last plan and we don't want to miss anything.
I still have the drawings from it if anyone needs them.
So the parking section, we don't have that yet. And I can't remember if somebody had said that they would do this. We need kind of a general description of the main public parking areas and where more might be needed.
Well, we've talked about before, we definitely need more in the village area.
Yes.
Right, but can
But
somebody,
apparently also we have a street parking.
And
can,
it-
can somebody write that up?
It's just,
I will write that up.
just needs a description of what we have today. I
yeah,
think.
we definitely need more in the village. We've already added more in the bay over the past 5 years. That's already been done to about capacity.
Right, I just need somebody to write that kind of thing up to put in here.
Yeah,
I will
think
write it up. I'll probably forward it out and
Kelly's-
just say, hey, can you maybe add or something to it? Yeah.
And you, like I just said,
Yeah.
the bay has already been done,
Yep.
but we're looking for more in the village.
You had a question, Tara, under facilities for bicyclists and pedestrians. What is the local name of this causeway? That's
Yeah,
the,
so this map is not gonna be in the plan. I just did a screenshot to ask you. I don't know how to say,
that's the old railroad causeway, the Lakeshore Railroad Causeway, but I don't think we have a name for it these days.
what would you call it to put in this sentence? We want to say New Hampshire Route 11 has sidewalks for approximately 2.25 miles from here to Alton Bay.
Okay.
I'd say take Spring Street.
Yeah, no, it goes up to the end where those cottages are, but
I know, I mean, I could see all that. What do I call it?
it's.
So where is this spot? we're
Does it
looking
go to
for a
Sandy
name?
Point?
You know where Rand Cove is, with all the cute little buildings for the,
Take pictures of all the time.
it's all the colored cottages in there?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That causeway up to the bridge,
Yes.
Oh, okay.
that was originally that's a railroad bridge. That was
Yeah.
built as
Yes,
a railroad
yes.
bridge, and that's a railroad causeway. But
okay.
we don't, in town, we don't have any name for it.
No, I just call it the
Common name for it.
bridge.
I always call it a causeway. Whenever
I'm
anybody
gonna-
asks me, I call it a causeway,
Okay.
but I have to.
Call it the Back Bay Causeway. How's that?
Yeah, back.
Yeah.
Everyone would
Yeah,
know
that's
what you
fine.
meant.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I'll just use something descriptive, like the bridge that's
Back Bay is, everyone knows it.
I would say
The Mount
back,
Washington Causeway.
you call it the Back Bay Causeway. I think
Yeah.
Tom's right.
Okay, good.
And then you had another question about the connector that goes behind the guardrail from Hannaford's and goes down towards the police station. That's
Right. I
That's
didn't,
called the John Racine Trail.
Okay.
RACINE.
And that was just done a few years ago. Well, that's been a little bit now, but it is recent.
so then where does it go from the sidewalk?
Goes from the sidewalk to the police station.
It's the old railway bed.
It comes into right down behind the town hall here, right over there, that way down.
Down this way.
By being it comes from Hannaford down to Depot Street where the police station is on and B&M Railroad Park is down there.
And Marty Cannellison can tell you all about the deeds.
And then Depot Street connects directly to Main Street and the town hall. And the
All
village.
right, I'm gonna try something and then run it by somebody.
Okay.
So it can be a bicycle trail or a walking trail to Hannaford. That was the goal, I believe.
It
I'm
was,
right, and I'm gonna rewrite it and run it by Kelly.
okay.
There you go.
Any other questions on 11?
On page 11, no, I have one on 12.
Okay, so moving on to 12.
First paragraph, there's a sentence that says, this has the benefit of avoiding the segment of New Hampshire Route 11 where the state highway passes through Alton Village. I didn't see how that fit with the description just before it. So you talk about New Durham Road, traffic circle to New Durham. New Durham Road is recommended as an alternative to New Hampshire Route 11 because it's the old road. Then you say heading north from the bay is a recommended connected, 28A is recommended. And so if you're riding a bicycle, what do you do in between those two?
Be very careful.
Watch your back.
Yeah, I hear 28 and a bicycle and I'm like,
Is this
no.
right out of there?
Let's look at the map.
Yeah, I looked at it, yeah.
I don't, yeah, because I don't,
So there's a green line going down Old New Durham Road, right?
Yep.
And then there's a red line leaving from Alton Bay on either side of the bay.
There's also a green line beside it
There's a
Right.
green and a
in the
red.
water.
Yes.
Yeah, don't worry about the green or red right now, just the lines.
And then there's a green line goes through the village, through the bay. So I couldn't understand what that was all
Mhm.
about.
I'll just relook at what I wrote in the map, because I may have just worked too late that night. And it may not make any sense, who knows?
there's no, yeah, if you were traveling by car, you could go from the bay up 28A and continue 28 to further points north. But you are hard pressed to go from the bay onto Route 28A on a bicycle because that is dangerous.
But it is done.
But it is,
but I
done.
would- but I
it
would
is
not
the
recommend
state's
it. I
bike route,
certainly
though.
wouldn't put it, you know
I
what I
don't even
mean?
recommend walking, but people
No.
do.
but
But it-
that's why it's red, because it's only recommended for experienced bike riders.
Right. That's why the red is there.
Okay.
But that is the connector, and I think I probably just have that sentence in the wrong place,
Okay.
Okay.
right? Because it goes with the 28A one, it doesn't.
Hmm.
I just think I've merged two thoughts there, so
Yep.
make a note to relook at that.
Thank you.
And you got a key. The other thing is the map doesn't have a key as to what the red and yellow, red and green lines mean.
Huh,
At least not on this page,
Right.
unless it's further down.
And then you got the Strava heat
Yeah.
map.
yeah, maybe under something, I'll have to find the legend, I know it's on here, but it must be behind the image.
Okay.
Down here.
So then on page 613, we're looking at the Strava heat maps.
I didn't quite understand them.
So I was trying to say that, well, while the state puts out this bike route map and recommended bike routes, people aren't really following them,
No,
because you see the bold red lines are places that a lot of people are riding, and it's all over the place. It's kind of every route, and it kind of, I don't. We still need to do an action plan to go with the infrastructure chapter. We don't have actions for this yet, so it's trying to do a little analysis and say, well, does this mean we should do more directing people to the recommended routes, or does it mean we should accommodate bicycles on more roads? Right? There's two ways to look at that, but that's what I saw when I looked at these maps, is that here's the recommended routes, but here's where people are riding.
yeah, okay. So this heat map is where they actually go, which
Yeah.
is.
That's what that's signifying, is where they actually go now.
Yes. The
And,
red.
that's explained in the text to the left of it.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
One of the recommendations should be is to, when we're rebuilding roads, is to make them more bike friendly.
Like a bike lane?
Yeah, I mean, where you can fit them in, you know.
Where you can fit them in, that's the key.
Which means you're gonna have to have a path on one side.
Right, right, which would be wider.
Yeah.
Have to make it wider into the shoulder, make it wider, make it a marked bike route or route.
I mean, it's being done in places. Moltenboro's got
Yes.
one up out onto Moltenboro Neck.
Is there, for that kind of thing, is there federal money or some other,
Mhm.
other than town money available?
You can get grants.
I think there's grants that somebody would have to look for.
If we had it, would kids bicycle to school?
I don't know. I think the big use is people who would do it for recreation.
The,
You know,
the
and
pro- the problem is we have to be careful where they are because we are increasing in volume in vehicular traffic by the day. And
Really?
it's getting longer and longer each and every year, something we have to think about where these bike routes are and where we make these suggestions.
Right.
Because some areas are almost impossible and they're doing it anyway.
So
And
we're not,
28A is one of them.
we're not trying to say that we're gonna say where they are. We just say that something that needs to be considered is providing more safe bike routes through town
Mhm.
wherever we can do it. You know, where it's feasible.
Some of these are state roads, so.
Right, and the state will participate in that too. They're
Right.
because, for example, the thing that I'm working on is the corridor between Minch Cove and Alacoya. They're going to put in a bike lane on that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it needs,
Well, they're gonna put a shoulder that accommodates bikes. That's a little bit different.
Okay,
isn't that the same thing?
I mean, it isn't all the same thing. There's design specifications for a bike lane that are quite different and more involved. And it shouldn't be a hard thing to get DOT to pave a 5-foot shoulder.
With regard to the state roads and bicycles several years ago, I don't know if you're aware of this, Tara, DOT put in speed bumps in the center of the breakdown lanes on Route 28. And it was a disaster.
Mhm.
And I think there should be something in the plan that involves the town giving advice to DOT about anything they might do with regard to
You know how
bicycles.
that works. They don't listen to the town at all.
They don't, because I think
They
that's a
don't.
valid point.
Well, there was
in
an
case you
interesting,
brought up, But.
Yeah, no, I was on the board during that time and they wouldn't budge.
well, there was a time when they were gonna do the repaving
Mhm.
of 11 and also 28 to Wolfboro.
Mhm.
And in this room, I asked them, I said, can you leave a wider parking space, wider parking area on the side of the road by Mount Major? And the guy who was making the presentation said, why? And everyone in the room laughed. And they said, go up there on a weekend and there's a half a mile of cars on either side of the road. Well, now they've blocked off parking in some places for Mount Major. But they did make it wider. They did take a look at that. They also, with advice, put the turning lane for Old Bay Hill Road and also for coming down Old Wolfboro Road. Because those were impossible to get off of when cars are right behind you. So, but they did listen to some of those.
Some of those things,
Or they came here to town.
even with the, if you will,
Rumble
the
strips.
the rumble
The rumble
strips.
strips
The
is what they
rumble
were.
strips, they did come back and they redid them and called them mumble strips.
So
Yeah.
It's the ones that
Rumble
they
to mumble, and they decided not to
got to
put
do.
the breakdown rumble strips.
they took
They
them
did
out.
eliminate those, so they worked with us, but they insisted in putting.
But it was after the fact.
It was after.
And if they had just
But-
like
but-
maybe consulted.
Going forward, I think we want to make sure that we make mention to the fact that we need to coordinate with DOT when they decide to do anything. I
Right.
don't know if they'll tell us ahead of time, or it'll be another one of these examples where
We could
They
always say
used to
it
come to
would be
town,
nice.
they used to come to town and explain what they were about to do.
and
All right, you guys are missing something, though. You have 3 people on a citizens advisory committee right now talking about highway redesign. Russ just told you about that. He's representing one town board on it, but So you can't say they don't ever come ask.
Yeah.
That's exactly why that middle segment is not gonna be over designed like either end of it was.
And I did misspell, they're not making bike lanes, they're paving wider shoulders to accommodate bikes, so.
And those 10-foot shoulders that they have on the other segments, those make it less safe for bicyclists. So I don't think it's fair to say they never listen. It's tough sometimes, but when it's a big project, you should push for one of those citizens advisory committees.
Okay. So are we moving on to 614?
At page 614.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, I just have one down at the bottom, the last sentence. Alton Bay has a very unique, it's a unique, you never,
Feature, but it's not.
you don't ever say very with unique, so.
So then
That was easy.
on 615,
Yeah, I had a question. This is something, Paul, I think you put this. It
Yes.
says, the third sentence, it is open daily and on weekends. And so is it open like all the time? Is it open every day?
It is open every day unless we close it. In other words, for conditions, for bad conditions.
So why
And
don't
the
we
only
just,
reason it would be closed would be for high winds or unsafe ice conditions.
so that probably should be clarified because,
it does say depending on condition of the ice right before then.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that it is open every day.
It's open every day to the public, but one thing, I didn't quite see if it says it, but by day only. It's no night operations,
It's open daily.
daily only, no night operations, there's no lights.
And I,
How do you close it?
Each and every day it closes by itself due to dusk.
No, but I
Dusk.
mean, if it's unsafe, how do you,
It's notified
The
by,
windsock,
the windsock.
no,
the next sentence.
no, windsock's got nothing to do with it, no. The windsock is just there to give them the direction of the wind at all times.
It says an orange windsock indicates the runway is open. If there is a white windsock, it is closed.
No, that's not totally incorrect. The red indicator is just an indicator of wind direction. That actually needs to be corrected because the red windsock stays up the whole time, during the whole season
That it's open.
that it's open. So if it's closed, that flag is not pulled down. That
Okay,
flag,
so Paul, didn't you send me this?
I sent you some of this, yes.
You sent me all of it. I didn't make this up. So somebody needs to correct it and send me the.
Okay, I'll correct it. I'll take care of this and correct it.
Thank you. Anything on the transportation role of planning board?
those are bullet points.
Yep, anything on those bullet points? Okay. So 616, questions, comments?
Yeah, develop and adopt the class 6 road policy.
Where are you, please? I'm sorry.
Next to last bullet on 616.
Thank you.
Is that where we're? No. Okay, 616, develop and adopt a class. Don't we have a class 6? We talk about, you have to, if you're, we have a piece of it. It's not the whole thing. I guess maybe we don't have a whole policy.
Well,
on it.
there's the state law, but a class 6 road policy, and there's a good model kicking around out there.
But the town has a
Can I
policy.
just
for it.
finish explaining what that is? So a class 6 road policy would lay the framework for how decisions are made when somebody comes in and asks to have a permit or to improve the road. So that you're not deciding on a case-by-case basis. It's the policy for how you're gonna decide. For example, some towns say, well, it can't be more than X amount of feet up the class 6 road, just one example. So that's what that is.
The town selectmen came up with a policy that we
Okay.
operate by.
I haven't seen it. Can someone send it to me?
We ever do a policy that if you're gonna build
Was
a
it
class 6
undone?
road, you have to.
I mean, I have copies of it.
It's located under the highway policies and regulations, and I can send that to you.
Thank you, Jessica.
I have the highway policies. I didn't see what I'm talking about for a decision, how the decisions are made.
Can I-
Isn't-
Right. And I agree with what you're stating.
Isn't the current policy that you can
Thank
have a driveway off a class 6 road as long as you meet the other
Okay.
requirements for the
Okay.
lot, that it have a frontage on a class 5 road?
No, it has to be certain width, it has to be, the equipment, rescue equipment has to be able to achieve. Paul, you have it in your brain, don't you?
I'm sorry, I was thinking of something else.
Oh.
Would you please go on?
In other words, the requirements that we had, when somebody came to the planning board and wanted to build, we send them directly to the selectmen. Because there was a policy letter that was written that what required for a certain width to maintain, to clear drainage,
Mhm.
and the applicant has to maintain the road.
Right.
And it can't just be, cutting trees down and
That very seldom comes to the selectmen.
I thought we had a waiver of liability they have to sign.
Oh, yeah, that's part of
What
the,
really is that comes to selectmen?
Russ, that's part of the state law, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'll look at what you have and try to be
it was
more.
like a 14-foot width and the fire equipment has to check it out.
Mhm.
Tara, do you need me to send that to you or do you have access to that?
I have it. I'll look at it again and I'll make this more specific because that's not what we're talking about.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Tara.
2 or 3 times a year, I'd say.
Anything else on 616?
Yes, could I go back on to 6:15?
No
Okay.
going back.
We can correct something real quick,
Okay.
because I didn't put this in there, and I don't know where it came from. I think it was a confusion from somebody who was written about the white sock. Take the white sock out of it completely, and only put orange windsock indicates wind direction only.
Okay.
That's all it should say. Take
I
the
don't think we need to
white sock out.
say anything about it then.
Say nothing about the white sock.
Or
Or
the
the
orange.
red one, why do we need that in a master plan?
Yeah, you don't.
It may be just that people have a question. Does that mean that the windsock is there just for the runway? And the answer for that is the red windsock is there just for the runway. And it's just an indicator of wind direction for the aircraft only. So that line got changed somehow.
Okay, thanks for
Okay.
that clarification, Paul.
That just clarifies that. Take out white windsock completely.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
so I'm crossing out that you'll send me corrections because you gave me that, so.
Okay, so back to 617, page 617, questions, comments?
No, I don't think they have 17.
Okay.
Is it just me, or do we just keep repeating and repeating and repeating roads? And is it just me? Are we beating a dead horse?
This
But we
is,
just keep coming back with every segment, something about road standards.
This
That's
is the
what this whole chapter
transportation.
is.
I know, but we just keep going over it and rehashing it.
Well,
No, we're saying what the conditions are and then we're saying what you should do about them.
3 chapters back.
people are always looking to, when they're coming before the planning board, looking for ways
Mhm.
to bypass it,
Yep.
to find an exception.
Yeah.
So I think it has to be hammered
Okay.
home.
I think we're handling this the same way that we did, say, the water and the natural resources, and it's in depth, so.
It's just a question.
Yep.
Under,
So-
under driveway regulations, you say,
Are we, so have you moved on to 618?
yeah, I thought you moved this
Okay.
there.
I
Anyway.
stopped when Paul spoke.
That should be not plural. The town is given the same authority for town roads,
Yeah, I see it.
no S.
I think, yeah, it probably said towns are at one point.
Then at the last sentence, we talk about shared driveways again. There is not, I guess, well, we allow shared driveways, even though there may be a prohibition on them.
Right, so
Yeah,
we're
that's-
gonna, so we'll parentheses that, and Tara's already gonna look into that from the previous
Yes, that's what I'm
page,
getting
so
at.
we'll just update that section as well.
Yeah.
That's all I'm getting at. This was talked about in the previous paragraphs.
I think it helps when if you were just looking at an outline, you'd understand why the same topics come up in different contexts.
Mhm. Anything else on 618?
No, I don't think I have anything on that.
So moving on to 619, questions, comments?
One second, I'm just updating my notes here about
All right, sorry, Tara.
clarifying on the shared driveway. Okay. I'm with you.
I have nothing on 19.
I think some of the bullet points are right on.
It's all right.
So moving on to 620,
Nothing there.
next
either.
page.
I don't have anything.
Parking lot location.
No questions on page 620?
Where possible, I would say, are we talking about, let me just see. Designing roads that fit the town's character. Where possible, any kind of a development, I would suggest should have a slight S turn in the access road. So you can't see all the way in.
Yeah,
So you don't see the houses from the road.
Yeah, you
Okay.
got that with the high school, it's like plowing.
Uh,
I'm just kidding.
point me to the right bullet first.
Which bullet you talking about?
I'm sorry?
Were you talking about a bullet point specifically?
No, I wrote then in the column here, under at the top section, on the section about the roads, that where the driveways are being considered, the driveways or roads coming off of the main road should have an S turn somewhere in the setback. If you have a straight driveway back to a development, boom, there's a development seen from the road. But if you have a slight turn in that road, you don't see it and it's not there in your mind. So, I mean, you may know that they're there, but optically, you're avoiding the sign of, more and more
And
development.
I would say specifically, if you look at the access road to the high school, or you go up the mountain to Said Larry Way, and that's a development because it's a road in straight down.
Yeah. So, but if there's a slight turn to it,
Yeah, it's
Right.
more aesthetically
Yeah.
pleasing.
So where
Yep.
would we put that in? That,
I don't know how. I'm just
so you're saying subdivision roads as they leave a class 5 road? Or,
yeah.
should have a.
A slight S
Slight
turn.
bend or S turn.
Yeah. And I would
I mean,
agree
it
with
just,
that.
it's more appealing from the road
Right.
and from the tourist point of view that you don't see.
Mhm.
And I would agree with that. It's the same way we thought about buffering for the business section.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Right, so that could just be a bullet in this designing roads that fit the town's character. Some design considerations for maintaining blah, 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 right?
Yeah,
yes,
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah,
excellent.
excellent. Thank you, Tara.
that'll work.
It's a tough thing you can encourage it, right? But you can't really require it. Would be a-
No, but I think that if at the planning board level, when an applicant comes in and you express to them what you're looking for, so that it's not that people are not having any trouble finding Hannaford. Doesn't have to be seen from the road. They,
Right.
No, I agree with you entirely. I'm just saying that it's something you can encourage, but not necessarily.
wanted to clear cut it all.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So no other questions on 620. We can move on.
So-
You all set, Tara?
She should
Yeah,
get-
so then the next thing we need to do is make sure that all the yellow things in the rest of the chapter that I'm gonna have them by first thing Monday morning.
Okay.
All the things people were working on. So the first one, I know Jessica was away too. The top of page 22. I think you were in the process of shortly meeting with the school folks about the CIP. Did you have that meeting?
We did have that meeting and I haven't had I need to meet with him again. We didn't have a chance to speak about everything I wanted to that night.
Okay,
So we have to meet again soon.
Paul did send me this language on the town hall.
I know I'm working on library and the cemetery, which I'll have to tomorrow or the day after.
Once I'm not caught up to yet. So
Are you okay with that, Tara?
this, I've been away. I got home late last night, so I haven't, I just know you sent it. Does it cover the sprinklers? I saw that in the CIP.
It covers what we talked about as far as storage in the building, what I sent you. We talked
Okay.
about the necessity of more space in town hall.
Yeah, I saw that. But so I'm nervous about the disconnect between your infrastructure chapter and your CIP still. We need, this chapter needs to produce the CIP items for the next 5 or 10 years. And so I look at your CIP and I see you have sprinklers for the town hall in the CIP, but I don't see anything in here that says they're needed or
It's
anything.
not needed if we set up the town hall the way it is. We do not have to have, according to the code with the fire department, to have sprinkler system.
But it's in your CIP.
Hmm?
Right, and so for this year's CIP, it's now not in the plan. It got taken out.
Okay, I see. So
Yep.
that's just the kind of check on it that I've been looking, is to go with CIP and make, if you're asking the town or a grant funder for money for something, you need to be explaining the need in the master plan. So I'm a little nervous about the piecemeal approach to this chapter and all the gaps I've had to fill in that were missing that. And I think we really all need to focus on it, now and in the next meeting, and producing an action plan that you can easily glance at the CIP and see the connections.
Okay.
So what I sent you, you weren't looking for?
Yes, I was. I was, and I will use it. You're the only one who did your homework so far, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
It's okay. It's okay.
So Kelly, you're on top of the library. You're doing that.
Yes.
This next one was for me, fire and rescue. Jessica, did you send me something? I feel like this list maybe isn't really going to end up going in here, but needs to be summarized. But first we need a description of what's there now.
No, I haven't sent you anything on that yet.
Was Jessica the one who was going to do that, or?
I'm gonna have to, okay, so I'm just gonna throw this out here. I'm gonna have to reassess what I can do to contribute to the
Yes.
remaining items for the master plan. I have received a resignation letter from my assistant as of yesterday, and her last day is on the 16th. So I'm going to do my best to follow up with all of the items that I have already stated that I would get the information for. And I will have a recap on Friday as to where I'm at and what needs to be done.
Okay.
So couldn't
Let me
somebody
know what needs
else,
to be done, and I can take something off your plate.
can't somebody else, I mean, it's just a phone call really to
Right.
fire chief. Can somebody just,
I can totally do that.
so I'm writing Kelly and,
So do you want me to just take that?
If you would like to speak with the fire chief, that would be greatly appreciated.
I will do that. Okay.
and we're just looking, if you look at some of the other examples that I sent of this section for other towns, it's just, where is it? What do you have? What's the big issues with it? And I think we have this list that we can pull the issues from.
Mhm.
But what I don't have is what you have now. Like,
Okay.
you have this fire station here and it's got this many bays and it's 400 years old, or what, whatever, that kind of thing.
It's been an add-on.
Everything in the town. So I will take that as well.
And if you are able to try to pull from change this bullet list into a summary of the big things it needs, that would be great.
Okay,
As I think you're gonna be in a better position to do that after you have
Yep.
that conversation.
yep.
'Cause I'm also kind of in a, I have to reassess what I said I'd do for everybody mode this time of year. It's hard to be adding other pieces of this when I have, it's, you know, zoning amendment time, so.
Much time, yeah.
Right,
Jessica, if you reassess and you find that you need to delegate something else, please reach out to the
Yeah,
committee
yeah, and I
and let
can-
us know what we can do
Yeah.
to help you.
Sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
all of us can take one.
Okay,
so on page 26, one of these is mine and one was Paul's and he already did it. Oh, I'm sorry, you're not the only one that did your homework. Russ did his during the last meeting. Hazardous waste stuff. But then I was thinking in looking at different things, we haven't said anything about the closed landfill and the need for monitoring for that. And I wondered if we should just, if somebody could send me a couple sentences about that. Where it is and when did it close and that you have monitoring wells or,
I can give you that.
great.
Tara, did you skip over cemeteries or are you not there yet?
Um,
There was a spot that was for cemeteries department.
you sent me that already for the cemetery department.
Yep, all right, so you got it there. I don't have it on here, so you skipped over it. Thank you.
But not cemeteries themselves. Somebody else was doing that.
Well, the question that you had on cemeteries that was in yellow is what I answered you on.
Yeah, no, I have, yeah,
Okay,
you did your homework.
and I thought, and I was still getting the new plan or no?
Hmm?
Did we get the new plan from Scott? Is that something I thought I was doing or is that what you did?
no?
Where are you?
And you
For the
mean,
cemetery?
for the cemetery, I did not get anything as far as that, no.
Okay,
No, what I got was, there was questions on the administrative assistant, who,
Oh. Okay.
is there one person or two people? It's
Okay.
one person.
okay.
Yeah, no, so you're jumping ahead to the cemeteries themselves and Kelly, I have that's way down the list here.
Okay, sorry.
That
That's-
when we get there, I do still need the description and
Okay,
kind of just whether they're adequate or not. So the next thing I have here is, so there's a water supply study being done and we have this list, but I don't have enough information to kind of make it into master plan language. Jessica, I'm not sure there's somebody else that can do that if you're, unless you can hand it back to like the water department.
Oh, okay, so I did. I sent them a listing. There was some, yes, so what's on the screen right now? I did send it over to water and to highway after we met and I never heard back from them. And I haven't had a chance to follow back
I was
up
gonna
with
say,
that.
so maybe we can just try to follow up with them. Obviously, going into the, the long weekend, a lot of people are on vacation, so now we just kind of need to re-up with everybody and say, hey, shake their tree a little bit, maybe.
Is that something Paul could do?
Well, I think Jessica can follow up since she already did.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can just,
She started.
I can
mean,
just
I
fo-
can help you if you like.
yeah, I'll just follow up with that and see,
And then
Okay.
see.
see where that goes. Maybe I can CC you on that email, just so.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Because again, this is where we want to make sure that your next 10 years of CIP are explained in here as needs.
Excuse me.
Recreation, I think we were in pretty good shape there by now. I guess I wasn't down on page 634. Not. It's not really clear yet when we're talking about indoor facilities. I don't think we've got them all yet. because there's that Alton Bay Community Center, right?
Mhm.
And
And then there's the Pearson Road Community Center.
well, when we have that, that's the only one we have here.
Those are the only,
We talked about the Alton Bay Community Center somewhere else. But then what is that West Alton Mount Major Community Center that's in the CIP?
I have no idea.
That was,
That's the one that's up near the fire station. West
Yes,
Alton.
yeah, that building,
that was
Oh,
granted to the
that-
town. The
oh,
town didn't
yes.
really
We're-
want
we're
it.
there's
still
nothing
conf-
being done with that at this
Yeah,
time.
like to me, that's not even,
Because nobody was
not even
using it.
habitable.
Nobody was using it. There's been some repairs to,
They put a roof on
done
it.
to it.
It should be sold.
But so
Um,
who can, all
something
right, but
town
this
took
is,
over.
this is the place you would say it should be sold. We need to talk about all of those buildings, and I think
That's
this
pretty
indoor
controversial. I wouldn't-
facilities is the place probably that we would do that, but,
Well, I mean, that's just my opinion.
no, I get that, but.
I'm just saying, it's a building that the town took over that we have since put money into
A little,
that we
yes.
do not utilize
We
But
don't-
so who,
There's no adequate parking.
ever. There is no parking. I'm pretty sure it's in pretty disrepair.
It was dumped on by,
okay, but who
dumped on
can,
the town by West Alton people.
who will volunteer to turn that, everything you guys just said into some master plan language for those other buildings?
You talk
And I
about-
don't know what AVAS is another one I saw in the in the CIP.
AVAS,
ABA.
Alton Village,
Ambulance service.
I don't know.
Oh,
ABAS.
Alton Village.
Was that the
Ambulance?
ambulance service?
AVAS.
No, but we're talking about it in the sense of
AVAS.
community.
Yeah, but I might have it in the wrong category here from what I saw in the CIP. It could be the ambulance, but so who can fill out this section to talk, to explain that there's this other building, but it's not used and something needs to,
I can look into that other building in West Alton. We've done some minor repairs there, but nothing is being done with it because inadequate parking.
Right. And I
right,
would
so
think
there's
that,
just, so you just need a couple sentences and then we need to get to the then what? What's the master plan gonna recommend that? And if you don't have a then what, then the recommendation is that, selling it needs to be evaluated, right? But you have to get to the then what with all of these things.
right. And it does need. a
were there
then
any
what. It does
restrictions
need-
placed on it when it was given to the town? That kind of thing,
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
just feel like that's where we're really weak in the master plan still is an actual facilities plan.
That's probably because it's the most controversial out of the whole master
Mhm.
plan.
Yeah, but you gotta do the hard work and right.
Well, There were
Discuss
people that
it
were
and,
interested in West Alton that wanted to see it preserved
yeah.
and wanted to see it stay with the town since the town assumed the property. And there's other people that are asking, why do we even bother?
Right.
Yeah.
And-
So,
But Tara's talking about the overall
yes,
facilities as well.
There was a
Right.
West
That'll
Alton
be really
selectman at the
important, that
time.
one though.
so let's back up a little bit. So I had a question with we have the Pearson Road Community Center. We need a community center, and do you want to recommend reviving a group again for that? Like, what do you want to say about how you're going to get from here to a community center? I know it was discouraging last time, but do you want to recommend it again? And do you want to maybe talk about public-private partnerships as a way to try to make it happen?
I would put it in there just because it has come up so much within the profile and the master plan. And I would absolutely say that private funding, a big thing with the recreational facilities is a lot of people don't want it flipped by the town, but nobody will allow the research to take place to see if it could be funded in other ways. I think those other ways are really important and should state that in the plan.
Mhm. I mean,
All avenues, you can look at all avenues or however you want to
It's
word
still
it.
up in the air.
Yeah,
Okay. And
And-
then I had asked, we we talked about the Alton Bay Community Center somewhere else, but shouldn't it be in this, shouldn't I move it to this indoor facilities section?
I would, because it's an indoor facility.
And then, so we'll talk about the two you have, the one that's decrepit and defunct, and then the need for one, right?
Yes.
Okay,
They're not equal kinds of things, however.
No.
but they're all indoor recreation facilities, right?
Right. And once we have something to look at too, then we can go from there.
Yeah, in your next meeting, because that's all you got. That's why I'm stressed about progress on this chapter. It's been moving very slowly and very piecemeal. And I know that one of the main things you wanted to come out of the master plan was direction for the CIP, and this business with the recreation facilities, that was on my to-do. Dams was cemeteries, that was you, Kelly, to I guess there's two main cemeteries and then several small ones.
Mhm.
We just need kind of brief descriptions and do you have enough space? How many years worth of space do you have? Do any need land acquisition?
Okay.
What we have are cemeteries, which are public, and graveyards, which are private.
And those are not the town, they don't go in the town plan.
So is there anything else there, Jessica?
So that was all the yellow items.
Okay.
And then, but so then the next agenda item, if you're ready, is like, how do we get to the action plan? Do I just make stuff up for the next meeting, or do you?
Talk about action plans. I
Yeah.
think,
How do-
bless you.
Well, we like, so with natural resources, Russ and I kind of tag teamed the recommendations that go with that, and land use, you guys work through those with me over several meetings. But
I think because of the time constraint, if you could present us with some action items that we could go over, would probably help expedite.
okay, so I'll draft them where I can from the text that I have and the text that people are gonna send me by Monday morning. And where I can't come up with something, I'm gonna just put in a highlighted yellow question saying, then what?
Okay. I think that sounds good.
But in terms of, meeting dates, we have September 21st when you'll see this next draft, and then you're gonna have to have a meeting somewhere in between there and the planning board presentation to
So
see
that
what
would be the October
I
5th.
did with your input. I'm actually away, but because I moved a vacation to be delayed to be after your plan, but then your plan got moved and delayed even more. So, I didn't plan on missing one of your meetings, but the presentation to the planning board was in August when I scheduled this vacation. So,
That's understandable.
but I am hopeful that I could connect anyway, even, if the internet where I'm staying is good enough to do Zoom, I will. If not, I could at least do the audio so that we can at least hear each other.
Well, that's appreciated. So that would be for the October 5th. We're going to confirm that. We're going to firm that up with everybody for October 5th at 6 PM, please. And I know it's hard and I know it's been a long process, but we're really coming down to the nitty gritty. So we really do have to just kind of press on.
I won't
So-
be here on October.
You won't be here?
I have a meeting October 4th, but October 5th is okay.
Okay. And then
That's
just,
when you're also gonna have the whole, you might not have the whole reformatted draft with the recommendations all in it until that one too, so. There may be a lot of copying on your end when Jessica doesn't have an assistant to do it, because if we can't guarantee that I'm gonna have enough connection to screen share, you guys are gonna have to have it in front of you.
Okay.
If you can tell me what to do, I can do it.
I was gonna say, if you need me to come up with-
That was easy.
I just need
Okay.
instruction.
Anything else, Tara?
No. I don't, I don't think so.
Okay, so we'll go to public input. Seeing none, we'll move on. We've already discussed the calendar meeting date, so we will book October 5th, as we just discussed, at 6 o'clock, understanding that Bill won't be here, and we will try to again, do our best to have our information for this week into Tara as soon as possible. Sunday night, the latest would be preferable, or very, very early Monday morning. Obviously, time is of the essence right now, and I know we all have a lot going on, so, you know,
A little bit too much.
just appreciated. Yep. It's hard. Today was, I have, one of my kids' birthdays. We all have stuff, right? And, but we have to just get it done. So here we are.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I'm just, I committed to doing something on the solid waste thing, so I'll write that up, send it to both of you.
Okay, thank you.
And I just had one thing, the outreach for the photo contest. So we've received photos, from 4 different people,
How many?
4 people.
Four.
With multiple photos. Some only submitted one, others submitted several. I have set that up. It's in the Dropbox. So I've dumped everything in there. It's under the master plan. There's a folder called cover page photos dash releases. So if you guys want to take a peek in that folder, there's the photo releases along with some photos.
Awesome.
If you guys want to take a look at that and sort of see what's what. And then we can discuss whether, we want a collage of photos, one photo or whatnot. So we
Thank you,
can kinda go
Jessica.
from there.
What is the folder again?
It's called cover page photos.
Yeah, it's in Dropbox.
Dash.
Right, so if you
Yep.
do that at your 21st meeting, then the draft you finalize or bless or whatever on October 5th can have that cover for you to look at.
Okay. So we'll all make sure to try to look at those photos before our next meeting and have our choices.
Yeah.
And submit them probably. You want to do that? Do you want us to email out our preference, or are we just going to discuss it? We will discuss in the way. Okay,
we could just
I just talked that
discuss, yeah.
out loud to
Yeah, I
myself.
think you can just discuss it, and if they're all good quality, it might be nice to try to use all of them, even if we don't put them all on the cover.
Great,
I
nice.
see 3 folders in here, 3 people,
There should be 4.
Daniel, Caden, and Larry.
Should be 4 in there.
So I see 4 or 3.
I don't know why you're only
One
seeing 3.
fell
There's
out.
4 in there. I don't know why you're only seeing 3.
Okay,
I don't know.
Okay, so
Get that again.
if there's nothing further, we will adjourn 7:39.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tara. Thank you.
All right, see you soon.
Just one quick question before and I just noticed this now, September 21st meeting, what time? Is that at 4?
4 o'clock.
At 4, because I have a budget meeting at 6, at 4.
Wait a second, you have a,
Yes.
what were you,
4 o'clock here.
what meeting were you talking about? October 4?
No, September 21st.
Oh, yeah, that's at
September
4.
21st meeting.
That's at 4, yeah.
It's at 4, and then I have to stay here. Then we have
Oh, is that the joint one?
I have 3 of